Welcome to the 2018 AmeriCorps Grant Application Workshop. My name is Linda Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism. This segment of the workshop will provide some basic guidelines for completing your AmeriCorps application. It does not eliminate the need for you to review all pertinent application materials in full. This includes application instructions, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, mandatory supplemental guidance, Georgia-specific guidelines, performance measure instructions, and so forth. You are also strongly advised to review webinars provided by the Corporation for National and Community Service. In this module, we will go over the roles of the Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism. I will provide a list of things you will need to gather before starting your AmeriCorps application. I will provide some important dates and go over a few acronyms. I'll explain to you the purpose of AmeriCorps funds, as well as who may apply and who may not apply. I'll go over focus areas and priorities of both CNCS as well as GCSV. I will also provide a review of the scoring system and a checklist of all of the application components. The Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism, aka the Commission, aka the GCSV, is composed of 4 staff, including myself. We are located within the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, a state agency. We are the pass-through agency for funds received from the Corporation for National and Community Service, a federal agency located in Washington, D.C. Now that you know who we are and what we do, let's move on to the application. So first, before you start, you will need to locate your organization's DUNS number. This is a unique 9-digit number issued to your organization by Dun & Bradstreet. If you have trouble finding it, or if you do not have one, I have included the toll-free number and the link here for your convenience. Secondly, you will need to locate your employer identification number, or the EIN. Third, you will need to register with SAM, the System for Award Management. I've included the link here for your convenience. Please use your organization's legal name when you register. You will need to renew annually using the exact same name. Fourth, you will need to establish an eGrants account if you have not done so. I've included the link here for your convenience. Finally, and this is a recommendation, have copies of the application instructions, the 2018 Notice of Federal Funding Opportunity, the 2018 AmeriCorps State and National Mandatory Supplemental Guidance, and the 2018 Georgia-specific guidelines handy. I've also included a link at the bottom of the slide where you may locate these documents, plus additional documents and webinars offering technical assistance. It is extremely important that you mark your calendar for February the 13th, 2018 at 3 p.m. This is the absolute latest date that applications will be accepted by the Commission. AmeriCorps applications are to be submitted by way of eGrants. Paper copies of applications or email attachments of applications will not be accepted. The other dates on this slide in black type are for your convenience to provide you with a timeline of things that must take place in the review process. If the reviewers have questions about your application, you will be contacted between March 20th and May 9th. For applications being submitted directly to the corporation, you will receive funding notification from CNCS by May 15th. For applicants submitting to the Commission, You will receive funding notification by May 31st. All applicants approved for funding by the Commission will be submitted to the corporation to process awards by June 15, 2018. For this workshop, we are discussing 3 types of grants. 1, cost reimbursement, also known as formula grants. 2, competitive grants, and 3, planning grants. Formula grants, also known as cost reimbursement grants, get their name from a population-based formula. Congress determines the allocation, and then it is divvied up among states based on its population. Competitive grants get its name because states compete for these funds. State commissions may recommend certain applicants for competitive consideration, which will free up formula funds to be granted to other applicants. New applicants may not apply for competitive grants or for fixed amount grants. Planning grants are for those organizations that are still in the planning process. These applicants may need to conduct research or surveys prior to submitting a full application. Planning grant applications will not have any AmeriCorps members, but they will be expected to submit a full application the following year. This list contains some frequently used acronyms that you may hear in this workshop or in other workshop modules. You may reference this page at your convenience. Some takeaways from this slide is to note that AmeriCorps members are not employees. They cannot replace current employees, nor can they perform duties as employees. They are to provide direct service from the member to the constituent or the beneficiary. They do not receive salaries or wages. If qualified, they will receive a living allowance or stipend. Because they are not employees, we do not use the term FTE. Instead, we use MSY, which stands for Member Service Year. MSY would refer to a full-time member position. Members may also serve in half-time positions or less than half-time positions, such as quarter-time or minimum time. Note the term slot refers to individuals. For example, 2 half-time members compose 1 MSY, but it's 2 slots. The purpose of AmeriCorps funding is to engage AmeriCorps members in evidence-based or evidence-informed interventions to strengthen communities. This slide explains how it all comes together. Funds are provided to state commissions by the Corporation for National and Community Service. These funds are then subgranted to qualifying organizations that have evidence-informed or evidence-based interventions in which they will engage AmeriCorps members. Once awarded, these organizations will recruit AmeriCorps members or people to carry out the interventions by performing direct service to beneficiaries. These services should make the citizens stronger, more successful, and overall have positive effects on the communities, making them stronger. Public or private nonprofit organizations with 501c3 status in the state of Georgia, educational institutions, and state government are all eligible to apply for AmeriCorps grants. Organizations operating in more than one state are encouraged to apply directly to the corporation, but may apply to state commissions. For organizations applying directly to the corporation, you are required to submit a consultation form to the State Commission. I've included the link here for your convenience. Ineligible applicants are those that have been convicted of a federal crime or are involved in lobbying. When completing your application, you will be required to provide the start and end dates of your proposed project. Typically, project periods are 10 to 12 months. Projects may not exceed 12 months under any circumstances. When considering start and end dates, please note that no programs will be allowed to start before August the 1st. You will also note that these are 3-year grants, but you must reapply each year of the 3-year grant period. The first year, you will be considered a new applicant, and if you've never received CNS funding prior. If approved in years 2 and 3, you will be in continuation status. Continuation applicants are not required to complete the entire application, only specific sections. In year 4, you will be required to complete the application in its entirety, and you will be in recompete status. Continuation applicants should refer to the continuation instructions within the application instructions. AmeriCorps grants can be complicated and time-consuming, especially for new applicants. For this reason, new applicants are encouraged to apply for 5 to 10 MSY. This can be any combination of half-time, reduced half-time, quarter-time, or minimum time. If you are not a new applicant, you may apply for any number of members based on your program design. If you are a competitive applicant, you must adhere to the corporation's 20-slot minimum rule. Also, please note that if your program design involves tutors, you must review the Code of Federal Regulations 45 CFR paragraph 2522.910 through .940 to ensure that your program meets the requirements of tutors, such as having a high school diploma or its equivalent, among other criteria. These are CNCS focus areas and brief descriptions. Please reference the NOFO for greater details. Disaster services may include mitigation, recovery, relief, or anything pertaining to disasters. Economic opportunity are projects leading to the improved economic well-being and security of economically disadvantaged individuals. Projects involving education should contribute to improved educational outcomes for economically disadvantaged individuals. Those pertaining to environmental stewardship should support responsible stewardship in preserving or improving the environment. Healthy Futures projects should lead to the improved health of individuals. Such projects may involve increased physical activity, decreased childhood obesity, provide access to health care, etc. Projects involving veterans and military families should positively impact the quality of life for veterans and military families. Again, please refer to the NOFO for greater detail. Inclusive of the focus areas, funding priorities also include Governor and Mayor Initiative, Rural Intermediaries, Safer Communities, Evidence-Based Intervention Planning Grants, and Encore programs. Please note that those organizations applying for the Governor and Mayor Initiative must include at least one governor, one or more mayors, and at least 2 nonprofit organizations. Also, you should reference the application guidelines as well as the NOFO for the due date, as these applications are due to the corporation no later than January the 17th, 2018. The Commission strongly encourages you to submit your application for our review prior to submitting it to the corporation so that we may provide feedback to you. Rural intermediaries are those organizations demonstrating measurable impact and primarily serving communities with limited resources. Safer Communities are programs that focus on public safety, crime mitigation, and mitigation of civil unrest, and may propose programs pertaining to law enforcement, or even partnering with law enforcement and the community. And lastly, encore programs are those projects engaging Americans ages 55 and older. In addition to the corporation's focus areas and priorities, the Commission has determined 4 focus areas specific to Georgia. Those are homelessness, rural communities, educators in rural communities, and human sex trafficking. Homelessness refers to individuals and families lacking adequate nighttime residence. Rural communities are those with population of less than 50,000 and poverty percentages of 10% or greater. Educators in rural communities could mean the placement of AmeriCorps members in rural areas as a resource to address educational needs. And human sex trafficking is a form of slavery and involuntary servitude resulting in grave human rights violations. Applicants addressing any of the focus or priority areas either set by CNCS or by the GCSV may receive extra points on their application and may receive priority consideration. To receive priority consideration or extra points, the applicant must demonstrate that the priority or focus area is a significant part of the project with outcomes demonstrating such. Programs addressing priority and focus areas for the sake of receiving extra points may not be funded. All programs funded by CNCS must provide match. Match may be a combination of cash and in kind. The module on finance will go into greater detail regarding match. Programs must adhere to a required match of at least 24% for the first 3 years of receiving CNCS funds. The match will gradually increase each year the program is funded and will max out at 50% in year 10. Please note that these guidelines provide the required match. If programs budget above the required match, they will be held to the higher budgeted match. AmeriCorps members receive certain benefits, such as a living allowance. You will be expected to budget for members' living allowances. However, if you are applying for a planning grant, you will not budget for living allowances since planning grants do not contain members. You should also note that programs are not required to pay living allowances to less than full-time members, though most programs do provide living allowances to members at a half-time and quarter-time. Another benefit of serving as an AmeriCorps member is the Eli Siegel Education Award. Members who successfully complete their term of service may receive an education award that they may use to pay tuitions or qualifying student loans. Members have up to 7 years to use their education awards. Please note that you will not include education awards in your budget. Also note that education awards vary based on the term of service. The amount of the education award changes annually based on the Pell Grant. I've included a link here in case you're curious to read more about education awards. Members also gain great experience and form lifelong relationships. Education awards are also a great recruiting tool to use later in the event your application is funded. Do not confuse the living allowance with the cost per MSY. This will be elaborated on in greater detail in the financial module. But please note, when building your budget, that the maximum cost for MSY is $14,932, and the living allowance for full-time members is $13,732. The $1,200 difference may be used for other member-related costs. All applications except for continuations are graded using a scoring rubric based on the NOFO. So it is extremely important that you read and follow all instructions in the NOFO and application instructions. You should pay close attention to the page maximums. The narrative for formula grants should not exceed 12 pages unless you are a ruled intermediary, in which case it will be 15 pages. Pages that exceed the maximum will not be read. The logic model must not exceed 3 pages. Again, you must submit your application via eGrants. Please print your application from eGrants before you submit it and check to make sure that you have not exceeded the maximum page limit. Also, make sure all application components are included. I strongly recommend that you allow yourself at least 3 weeks to write your application. If you encounter problems with eGrants, I have included the hotline number here for your convenience. When calling the help desk, you will need to have handy your application ID, the name of your organization, and the NOFO for which you are applying. On this slide, I have highlighted the NOFO in red that you should select. Additional documents such as MOUs, reports, studies, letters, audits, etc. should be sent as email attachments to AmeriCorps@dca.ga.gov. For your convenience, the next 2 slides contain application components that you may use as a checklist. Please complete the SF-424 phase sheet in its entirety. The contact information you place on this sheet will be the information that we use to contact your organization for clarification, for questions, for award or denial notices, or for anything pertaining to your application. The legal name that you use in SAM should be used each year you apply for an AmeriCorps grant. For your convenience, the catalog of federal domestic assistance number is 94.006. Under the descriptive title of the applicant's project, please include the word AmeriCorps. For example, the ABC Organization AmeriCorps Program. In the section for counties, please don't forget to list all counties affected by your project. Also, don't forget to select the correct congressional district. The first section of the application is the executive summary. The corporation has provided a template for this section. You are required to use it. It is a fill-in-the-blank document and is worth 0 points. However, if you do not use the template, points will be subtracted. For your convenience, this is a side-by-side comparison of the sections for formula grants versus planning grants. This concludes this module. There will be other modules which I encourage you to view. If you have questions, please email us at AmeriCorpsGA@dca.ga.gov. I wish you the best and thank you.